Alright, hello all. This video I'm going to install Manjaro or Manjaro Linux using the net install, or basically command line dialogue driven. You don't have to do it this way, obviously. This is just out of interest, and actually I did find some interesting things about doing it this way, but it does take a little more work, of course. So obviously I have VirtualBox here. I'll just fire this up and we'll get our Manjaro screen and just press enter to load the net install. So once it's loaded, you're presented with some instructions to log in as defaults Manjaro, and the password's Manjaro. Root, login as root is root, and the password root. And if you want to run this without having to log in as root, you run sudo setup, and then, of course, if you just root, you just run setup to bring up the setup dialog. So I am going to log in as root, so it's root, and the password is Manjaro. And before I run setup, I want to set the font size a bit larger, so I can see for one. -12 by 22. So, oops. By 22. Let you see what I just typed. Set font one word. ISO 02-12. That's why I set the font, because I can't see it. -12 by 22. Okay, that's better. And one more thing. If you haven't used Arch Linux or Manjaro, this won't seem anything, but the difference between Manjaro and Arch Linux is Manjaro will install a lot of stuff that you don't have to do manually, that in which Arch you do. Okay, so one way it sort of differs is the pacman mirrors, I believe, dash mirrors. And to generate a new list, it's a -G. And country, it doesn't have my country, so I have to use, well, this is close enough to me, United_States. That's capital U for United, capital S for States. And I believe that should go out and generate the newest mirror list to pacman.d mirror list. Okay. Alright, so once that's done, just run setup. And the fonts will look a little weird because I changed it. So you set your date and time to your preferences and your location and city, and make confirm that that's right. Now I'm gonna do a manual partition. I don't need, in my case, GPT. You can read through what it says here if you want to try this, but in my case it's no. One disk, 10 gigs. SDA. Answer yes here. Okay, and it throws you into parted. Just type mk part, and then you can press tab there to complete it, and then press enter. P for the primary partition, extension 4, and start. You can use something like 2 MB, 2 megabytes at the start, and if you want to use just the rest, it's 100 and then a %sign, and Q to quit. And that's it. We're done in this case. Mount the file system. It found the file system SDA1 and no swap, and SDA1 extension 4. Give it a label, Arch 64 or whatever you want. You can leave the next one blank. Done. One more confirmation, and then first option, unique identifier, will work fine. And then, as you see, it's mounting to install. Return to main. Install system, which uncompresses root image and net-image. So just give that a second to finish. And it does a couple more things, such as loading ALSA video drivers, and I can't remember, but I'll be back when that's done. Okay, then we just move on to the next part, configure your system and your root password, and of course your user, and give it root or sudo rights, yeah, and so on. And configure your locale if you wish, and set key map. That's up to you. Go to config -system. I usually change the host name, completely optional, and Control O and Control X. And I like to edit the hosts. For some reason, if you use Firefox as your web browser, putting in your host name in the first 127 line makes it launch faster. I'm not sure why that's happening. And the vConsole, if you want to keep the font, you just type in capital letters font and then equals. What I used was ISO 02-12 by 22. Write that out and exit and back. Generates the locales and builds the init RAM-FS image for you. And then we go on to install a bootloader. In my case, it's just going to be a BIOS basic grub 2 on device SDA, and it loads up for you, and it's installed. And once it's finished installing grub, you just option 6 to quit, and installation finished. However, I am going to remount the partition SDA1 to /MNT. I don't know a lot about Manjaro in this aspect, but I know that you can chroot to /MNT mount system and do a couple of things. Not much, but you can. First of all, it's pacman -S, and I want to get the base -devel packages. Some will be reinstalled. The reason I'm getting this is for the YAWART, the Arch Linux user repository YAWART command line installer for Make and GCC, just basically programming tools. Okay, so that's finished up, and I don't know why I sound so serious today. I'm just in that mood, I guess. Sorry. Next thing I like to do is make just a script so I can for the grub configuration, because I'm going to be using that a lot actually. So just use the nano text editor, command line text editor, USR bin, and just whatever up-grub or something. Just declare the bin bash /bash, and then the command would be grub -mkconfig -o. That's letter O /boot /grub, another /grub .cfg, and write out and save. And I chmod plus executable USR bin up -grub. I don't run that though. It seems to fail when I'm in this ch root mode. And also, I edit the sudoers group. So again, nano etc sudoers page all the way down, and where it has my username all equals all, I just press Control K to delete that line. And where it has %wheel, comment that out, and then uncomment no password. And I believe that's it for this side. So exit, and then umount -MNT and -R. Power off, and I'm going to unmount the ISO from VirtualBox, which is here. So just uncheck that and press enter to start. Okay, so hopefully we'll load up our our Manjaro install, and log in as root still. Okay, so I wanted to nano etc default /grub, and where it has this command line quotes here. I don't know why it's spaced there, but whatever. So I'm going to put the word quiet. You don't need to I don't like to see all that boot up messaging. I don't think it serves much purpose, but that's up to you. Graphics mode, 1024 by 768. So I'll write that out and exit, and now I can run my command up -grub, and I'm going to issue another reboot. So I'll log in as my user and do a sudo pacman -SYY. Make sure the mirrors are synchronized, and just to make sure, you can regenerate your mirror list. So this time you do sudo pacman -mirrors G and country United. I don't know what's really necessary, but just in case. Okay, and I'm going to get my own my own bash file. That's on GitHub, so I have to install git. So sudo pacman -S git or git, and grab my own, as I said, bash rc file, and ls, and just copy pre_arch.bash rc to ~/.bash rc, and answer yes to overwrite, and just source ~/.bash rc. There, I like the way that looks better, and I can do like psync and pack and stuff like that without having to type out the whole thing. Lazy, I know. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get bash -completion and mlocate. I like to use locate to locate something through the command line sometimes. Okay, so sudo update db. It just runs in the background. So it's something like locate mem test. But first of all, sudo pacman -SYU. And there's updates, definitely. And I think this also, GNU-PG, it throws the .GNU-PG directory into the root directory. So you don't get failures with custom repositories and keys and stuff. Okay, after all that, I've strongly recommend a reboot, so sudo reboot. Alright, so that covers a good portion of installing Manjaro Linux manually or net install. Obviously, the choice of desktop is yours. There's many to choose from, of course. OpenBox, XFCE, GNOME, Plasma, and so on. And I wanted to move along a little bit and install a desktop environment just to show you that it's basically the same. In this case, not exactly the same, but very, very, very close to Arch Linux. So sudo pacman -S, the obligatory XFCE4 desktop. That looks really close to Arch, if not the same. So I'll just let that download and install, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, and just start XFCE4. And I'll just use the default configuration. And there we go. And of course, uname, oh dear, -R, Manjaro, version, Linux version 4.1.15-1. Okay, so from here I'm just going to move on and customize this. I have videos on customizing XFCE4, and when I come back we'll just talk about a couple of other things that I found very interesting actually. Alright, so just a bit of customization on the XFCE4 Manjaro desktop. I haven't seen the Whisker menu, which I installed previously, of course. Mugshot is not installed, and neither is Menu Libra. However, it's in the default repositories in Manjaro, where in Arch Linux is in the user repository. So I can install Menu Libra and Mugshot. In my experience with Mugshot, if you don't install the GStreamer good plugins, oh there, I'll try to copy that. So sudo pacman -S Control Shift V, and account service. For some reason it won't work. I don't know why. You don't have to enable the service necessarily, but installing these two will allow mugshot to work. Which mugshot's just, you can take a picture from your webcam or use a graphic from your whatever you have, hard drive. You can download avatars and so on. So if I click on this mugshot or the picture, it's going to ask to browse. So I don't have anything set, or I don't have an image yet. But the same thing with edit applications menu. You have to log out and log back in. I can also show you the slightly different LXDM GTK3. Looks a little different. Okay, let's see Menu Libre. There it is. And this comes in handy if you want to hide certain things like development, or under internet if you don't want to see certain entries. It's very simple to just try to resize this. Select off and then save, and do whatever you wish for each one. Oh, save, sorry. And off. Control S to save as well. And so you see internet. Now you just see Firefox. Multimedia, you can get rid of this if you don't want the quality QT test under multimedia. You get the idea. Very straightforward. Okay, this is interesting. I found this very interesting, and somebody asked me a long time ago if you can turn Manjaro into more like Arch. Well, obviously, most of this is pretty much more like Arch. So we're going to edit our pacman.config, and something is not happening right here. Oh, what am I doing? I'm so sorry. Sudo, no wonder, was responding weird. Leaf pad. Under the configuration, well, actually, let's add a couple of things. Use color. Okay, let's scroll down to repositories. Press enter a couple of times. And I have a video on this on repo CK, and believe it or not, it actually works. So this is not a typo. You have to this many times because the creator's host is not so good. So we'll save and close that, and then super user. Yeah, tack on these key rings, which might take a while to download or to verify. So let's copy and paste that in and give that a bit of time. Okay, so get out of your root and sudo pacman -SYY. It should find the repo CK, which it just did. And then I'm just going to use the CK10 K10, my AMD processor kernel and headers as well. Once this synchronizes, I don't know what's going on with the internet here. Apologies for that. Okay, so the headers, the kernel and the headers are installed. I'm also going to get the VirtualBox guest module. So I'll just copy and paste this into the terminal in VirtualBox and change from host to guest. And from what I've found, I didn't have to mod probe or anything. However, you have to run sudo mkinit-cpio-p linux-ck. And you also have to update your grub configuration file. So I'll use my batch file that I created in the beginning once this is done. So sudo up-grub, and it should find linux-ck, which it just did. So Alt F4 and Alt R to reboot. And let's press E. You see linux-ck, so Control X. You don't have to do that, I was just showing you. And we'll open the terminal and uname -r. CK, Linux CK. It doesn't have Manjaro or anything. No, I'm not saying it's Manjaro's disabled or anything. I don't know. But I found that interesting that you could actually install a third-party kernel. Another thing is, if I open the web browser, I've been through this several times. Don't do this if you're not sure, okay? But this is just for observations. You have to edit the mkinit config file. So I just copy that just in case. Where it has modules, just basically copy and paste into the quotes. Again, this is just for an experiment, okay? In VirtualBox, so it's not on your system. But I found this very interesting. So, binaries, you need to go down to hooks. It says base UDEV. There's a couple things are different. Shutdown and USR are not in a default arch. But I am going to remove all this and you leave the file system check. And I think that's it. So I'll just save and close, and then for a test, you do a sudo mkinit cpio -g, not p, and then /boot init ramfs linux ck. I'm sorry, linux -ck-tiny.img. Okay, as long as you don't update your grub, you're fine. So I'll get out of this and Alt F4, another restart. I'm going to go into our edit Manjaro menu, and where it has init-rd at the end, just tack on -tiny and control, make sure that's it. I'll zoom in here. So I just init ramfs-linux-ck-tiny.img, control X to boot. So I'm gonna change this so it auto logs in, and it's pretty fast actually. So I'll be back in a second. Alright, so now you had to set to auto log in with just editing the boot parameter. There's a systemd analyze, and it's 1.8 seconds. So that's pretty quick. Like I said, this is in VirtualBox. It's totally experimental. And I'm personally going to try this on my system to see what the difference is, and if I can still install my proprietary NVIDIA drivers using the CK kernel from Arch Linux. But by all accounts, it looked like it's possible to do this. But I'm not sure of the long-term implications, if it's going to mess anything up. Okay, so that should wrap it up. Manjaro Linux, installing the difficult way, as usual. And any questions or comments, feel free to add them. And I do have relevant videos on theming and stuff. I'll try to put those in the description of our Remember. So thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. And bye for now.